That was at one point Jimmy Page considered him to, as for lead singer of Led Zepp.
Yeah,
When you hear this song, you think, yes,
I
you
understand
could
that now.
really
And I
picture it.
remember you
Yeah,
talking about that. There's all the floodgates are
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
I remember.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles in It. My name's John. His name is Andy. I was dreaming when I wrote this. Forgive me if it goes astray. But I woke up this morning, could have sworn it was Judgment Day. One night later, that was not. Um, well, because it's Friday, yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. Um, we are going to listen to a track offered up by one of our wonderful viewers. Um, Case in point, this time, a pair of pints.
The best kind of pair.
Yes, I do love me some Withnell. I do. They dropped a comment in an episode, Small Faces, Tin Soldier, and suggested the following. The band is Humble Pie, and the track, Black Coffee.
Okay.
Now, I don't remember if they requested this or if I dropped it, but I think they requested the live version from the old grey whistle test, or
Yes.
TOGWT, as it's so
Yeah,
known.
that acronym that rolls right off the tongue. I've seen a few bits and pieces from this old. It was a television show, right? I mean, I would. That's
Yeah.
yeah, I thought so. And I know how it's kind of it does it pre. I would imagine it predates Peel, but is held in that same sort of or the Peel sessions. I would assume it's held in the same kind of esteem as that.
Yeah, so Old Grey Whistle Test, without doing research, I think it would have started either late 60s or early 70s. So around the time John Peel was doing the same thing.
Okay.
Um, it then became, and they have some great stuff on there for the early 70s. And I'd say mid 70s, it started to struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, the presenters have come across a little bit sort of tame and old fashioned when all this exciting stuff was going on
Yeah.
with the punk rockers.
Of course.
So Annie Nightingale came in and sort of revamped it. And it was absolutely fantastic. This sort of punky new wave stream going through it. I can't remember when it finished. Mid 80s, I would have a guess, but I do remember they would do like a New Year's Eve program which summed up the year.
Oh,
And I remember watching it one year. I was babysitting. I would have been no more than sort of, I don't know, 14, 13. I was babysitting next door and watching it, and they said, "Oh, and for the first time on TV, ZZ Top," and it was videos from Eliminator, and it's just, I mean, you look at it now, it's hilarious, but at the
yeah.
time, it's like, this is fantastic. They got furry guitars that spin round. This
Yeah.
is amazing,
Great.
and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really great program. Even when it was Whispering Bob Harris and the other guy who looked a bit like Paul McCartney, I don't remember his name. They had some great stuff on. They really did, but they were a bit fond of the sort of proggy, sort of disappearing fundament sort of bands that sort of went on for a bit too long. Um,
Fair.
but I mean, Bowie was on there, and all, Roxy Music, all that sort of
Yes.
stuff at the beginning of glam. Some really fantastic seminal performances.
Yeah.
And I would humbly suggest, you go off and watch this, that this could be added to that list. But you can be the judge of that.
Okay. All right, great. Well, I've no familiarity with Humble Pie, so I will go off and give this thing a spin and a watch. And I'll come back and let you and Pair of Pints and everybody else know what I've made of it. Good bluesy stuff. Oh. Well, one, that's a really great voice and one you wouldn't expect to come from someone of this man's appearance, but I gotta be honest, I know this track. I think I do anyway, because I don't know it very well. I'll be honest with you, but I know that there's a Tina Turner track. Thanks, Mom. That starts with that same belted out "Ow, black coffee," and the way he did, I was like, I didn't expect. Thinking of Tina Turner as one of the last artists I would have thought to have come to mind when looking to and listening. I mean, looking at this fella and listening to this song. But here we are. It's a cover of that track, much to my surprise. At least I think it is, and that's pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. Let's listen to them kind of like tinker on into the intro in that kind of bluesy number, like they're just kind of strolling in and then ponying up to a bar. That cheeky little exchange was nice. Let's pull that back a little bit. I really am impressed with his ability to kind of like belt this bluesy tone. It's really good.
That's where it's at, and I know. Way back in yonder, I don't know when. I got hungover before I was 10. You see, my skin is white, but my soul is black. But hot black coffee,
Believe it.
that's where it's at. Black coffee, that's what I need now. Black coffee, that's what I want. Black
Ooh, I'm going to pull that back. I like what that bass fill was indicating there. There's going to be some sort of change, perhaps. But that Les Paul is just chopping away at that motif. And it's so bass and like fairly rudimentary, but it just sounds so good and so, I don't know, there's something really like unpretentious and authentic about that kind of like just blues riffing. And then, there's the other side of it where you're going to get bits and pieces of the sweet lead guitar work as well. But from like a rhythmic standpoint in the blues, that choppy, simple dun 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 is just quintessential. It's like the backbone of that blues kind of sound, from which you can then go do all that fun, lead work and experimentation. That really is kind of the root, and it sounds really good here. That slide.
black tea, it's as black as it can be. Black tea, come on, can't compare with me. I know. Black tea, well, it's as good as it can possibly be. But it's a cup of black coffee that a working man needs to see.
We really do have some fine vocalists in this country, I think. Ones that come to mind immediately: Robert Plant, Paul Rogers, and of course Stevie Marriott, Humble Pie, along with the Blackberries. One from...
Oh, so I've heard of the Blackberries before. I don't know any of the stuff that they've done, but I've heard them referenced before, so it's nice to... I'm assuming those three ladies, I can safely assume those three ladies, were the Blackberries, and how lovely they sounded. Blacker the berry, the sweeter the sound. In this case, yes. They sounded terrific. Loved the way they kind of injected those oohs. That sounded fabulous, a lot better than my iteration of it. There was also this really interesting spot where, like, they started the call and response, where they start off with Black Coffee, and then he would follow up. Usually, or stereotypically, maybe it's the other way around, right? Where the lead singer delivers something, and then your chorus kind of backs you up there. And in this case, it was them starting it, and then when they were doing that vocal bit at the end, he cuts out and just lets them kind of resolve that stanza on their own for, I don't know, was it 2 or 4 lines of it? So yeah, they sounded fabulous, and I really think that they helped add kind of that like authentic sound to the blues, especially when you're talking about having like backup singers. It just makes it sound that much more real, and this was the real blues. This sounded great, and I have to go back and check out the Tina Turner version, because I really only remember her just calling out Black Coffee a bunch of times in that song, and it just sounded like somewhere between the most anguished call for a beverage in the history of man, or like the most fervent, like it was born of like this raw desire. But yeah, he totally competed with Tina in the way he delivered this, and sounded almost, right out of the gate, I thought that he sounded exactly like her. Now, obviously, I let it play out, and he sounded akin to her and to the original. As far as that vocal delivery goes, that's really impressive. I was not expecting it, and I'll probably be saying that over and over again as I revisit this track, because you're left kind of gobsmacked by the guy's vocal talent and just that strain that he uses as well. And that's take nothing away from the music either. This is a really simple but lovely blues number, and I love the way that like he would deliver a line, and every so often he would inject that, it looked like he may have been on a Stratocaster or something, but that classic, talk about call and response, that kind of call and response between vocals and blues guitar, where you deliver a line. We've talked about this before. I think like B.B. King is an excellent sort of example of someone who uses that tact pretty often. This guy's something else to look at here. This is hilarious. But it's also really nice to listen to the old Gray Whistle Test, to like check out some footage from that, because I think I may have seen 1 or 2 bits and pieces from this program. So it's always good to see more, because I know it's kind of like an institute of I'd say British music, but I guess all music, right? But another one of those British musical institutions, like maybe the John Peel show would be considered, and then maybe later, performing on Jules Holland or something like that. So I know it's always fun and historically important to check out stuff from that platform as well. But yeah, this is a really great shout. I really enjoyed listening to this. Kind of blew me back, not only from a vocal performance standpoint, but from a holy shit, I'm pretty sure this is a Tina Turner cover. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Let's get back to John and chop this one up some more.
Otter's Pocket, he's back. So you've had to listen to Black Coffee live on the TOGWT by Humble Pie. What do you think?
This was a lot of fun, man. It was. I think for obvious reasons, if you don't know what you're getting into when you press play, then you're going to be, to some degree, perhaps even gobsmacked over what you've kind of witnessed unfold there. So the song begins with some hand claps and some dual blues guitar, one lightly chugging through a motif, whilst the other is shooting these gentle bits of lead work over the top, uh, and this bass that's quietly filling out the low end with some, all backed by this kind of like hi-hat beat on the drums. And then the singer cries out, Black Coffee is my name. And it's at this exact moment that I realize I know this song. And I only know the song because my mom and my mom's dad were both big Tina Turner fans. So I know it's a Tina. And if you asked me before I press play, to like tell you what I knew of that song, it would have been like how she opens it by wailing that Black Coffee is her, because it's that Black Coffee, and it just that kind of higher, gritty, bluesy kind of delivery. It kind of imprints on your brain. So when I heard it, the light instantly kind of went off for me. And what was so eerie was how much he sounded just like her in that moment. Which is wild because, he's a man, he's white. I assume he's English. I don't know. But there's all these things that would be like the counter to the, the visage that I would associate with hearing those lines delivered. So yeah, it was really mind blowing. Great opening delivery. And then speaking of delivery, he goes on to the next line, and then does that textbook blues move where he follows up the vocal delivery with a quick little flurry of blues notation on a six string, which I think we've brought that up so many times. And the person that we always kind of point to is the man who doesn't stand, Mr. B.B. King, Mr. Sits and Plays, because he was he was the king. He was the B.B. King of that, so now those backup vocalists have joined in to add this punctuating Black Coffees to the mix, and their voice add this sort of like authenticity to this cover. They're really staying true to it, and their voices really do help with that. After the lead vocalist delivers a line, that's where it's at, and I know. He then shares a cheeky grin with his backup singers. There's this choppy little fill on the drums and the guitar that leads us into this more full sound on the other side from the band. And it was a lot of fun watching the interaction between the lead singer and the backup vocalists. It was like he was peacocking for them to show them that he could do it or something like that. It just kind of made me laugh, and they were having fun with it as well, which made it all that much more, entertaining. So he goes on to sing, about experiencing hangovers since the age of 10 or before the age of 10, and having white skin but a black soul. So hot black coffee is where it's at. He's literally talking about coffee. Uh, I would suggest that the Surgeon General may have wanted to step in here, because this kid was getting plastered at 9 years old and then, chasing it with black coffee the next day. Probably going to run into some health issues pretty early on down the line. So, I'm, paraphrasing these lyrics as I'm trying to catch them, but it's fun to listen to this man convey these lyrics written by, I assume, that either Tina or Ike and Tina. Then the song moves on to this call and response portion where the women deliver the titular line to then be followed up by the lead singer. And it's during this part I begin to detect that winding sort of sound of a slide being deployed on a fretboard. And then I soon get confirmation that it's from the fella who's playing the Les Paul model guitar, the one who isn't singing. And now we enter the stanza where the music quiets back down a bit, and the singer begins to talk his shit about black tea. And as an avid coffee consumer, I'm here for a little bit of tribalism and side picking. He he sings at times through seemingly stifled laughs that black tea can't compare with me, and that it is as good as it can be, but it's a cup of black coffee that a working man needs to see. I believe I caught all that. It's hard to catch all of this with the blues affectation and the kind of leaning into it, but I'm doing a pretty good job, I think. We're back in the throes of that main motif of the track with that kind of choppy rhythm. It's really simple, but that choppy rhythm guitar pattern. It's kind of like helps create this backbone for the other, like the lead guitar and even the vocal runs to kind of like wash over. So I really do appreciate it as kind of as simple as it is, and it just sounds really great. So we then get the singer going on about America being the land of the free, noting that you can get whatever you want if you got some of that do re mi, which I thought was that made me laugh. He then continues emphatically delivering this verse as the female vocalists keep layering in these oohs throughout. Occasionally, I catch bits and pieces of what he sings, something about being independent and having a job. Also, something about black coffee and how good it tastes. No surprise there. I also thought I heard a reference to it only costing a dime, which, good God, take me back to the days when a good cup of coffee wouldn't run somewhere in the neighborhood of $5, let alone a dime. I think those days definitely preceded mine. And from here, we re-enter the call and response portion as our ladies belt out that titular line, and he sings that it's what he wants now, it's what he needs to soothe his soul. And then the ladies kind of take the reins from this point on as they finish the track, singing over top that sliding bit of Les Paul. And the band breaks down the last three chords of the track, and the singer goes on this little vocal run before the drums do a pretty brief roll, and the bass follows up, giving a final note noodling, and our singer calls out, "That's where it's at," and thus bringing our song and our performance to a close. Now the camera then pans over jarringly because we didn't start with an introduction, so I didn't know we were going to get, and it showed, I assume, one of those aforementioned hosts you alluded to, and maybe perhaps the most stereotypical looking Englishman appears on my screen, who seems to have tapped into my exact thought process as he notes what excellent vocalists herald from your lovely country over there. He also mentions the name of the trinity of female vocalists who are the Blackberries, which is a name I have heard before, but I've never seen them or heard them, but I've just heard that name before. So it's nice to be able to put, some faces to that group. And then, the nice little cherry on top or blackberry on top would be, just getting to view all of this while listening to it because it added so much to the experience. Being able to watch him lean into it, the fun and interaction between him and his female vocalist counterparts, and even the very dry but correct observation by our host at the end about these great singers, and he goes on to list a few. And I think this is a shining example of that. I mean, I think the number one thing that stands out for me is the vocal performance in this track. I mean, the blues stuff is good. I've heard it before, and I'll gladly continue to listen to it until they put me in the dirt. But it wasn't anything that like blew me away. It just sounded like really good, gritty blues, and I'm here for it. So, yeah, loved that sound. Loved me some black coffee, so I had to agree with the sentiments. And there was, a lot of fun to behold here, a lot on display, and I, want to reiterate what a great vocal performance it was. So please tell me a bit more about this excellent suggestion by Pair of Pints.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andy. My take on it is I think it's a fairly okay song. It's decent enough.
Yeah.
Nothing, to knock about it, but nothing to say about your hair stand on end or whatever. It was written completely by Tina Turner.
Okay, Tina.
But yes, the vocal performance is outstanding.
Yeah, that's what stands out. Everything else is like stuff we've heard before. I'll hear it again and not complain. But yeah, the vocal performance, and not only does it sound good, but I think it's the fun of being caught off guard, at least at the beginning, that this, rather diminutive looking scraggly fellow is just gonna throw that out there,
So that rather diminutive, scraggly-looking fellow is Steve Marriott, lead singer of Small Faces, who you listened to previously.
Okay. That neighbor. Then now the suggestion, it all makes sense. Wow, that's
And
great.
you probably wouldn't have got it from Tin Soldier, which is a great performance. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
but in the detail I was talking about was at one point Jimmy Page considered him to as for lead singer of Led Zepp.
yeah.
When you hear this song, you think yes,
I
you
understand
could
that now,
really
and I
picture it.
remember you
Yeah,
talking about that. There's all the floodgates are
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
I remember
But
the
this
discussion.
performance, I mean, yeah, you can see how he could carry a lot of Led
Oh,
Zepp songs because, I mean, amazing stuff. Cool. All right. So, Humble Pie, English rock band, formed in '69. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I'll try and get through as much as I can. Um, the band actually came out of friendship between Steve Marriott and Peter Frampton.
hmm.
And they're known as one of the first supergroups of the late '60s. You had a few of them. So you can say Cream as well and stuff like that. But the original lineup was them too, and also former Spooky Tooth bassist Greg Ridley and former uh, Apostolic Intervention drummer, yeah, that them, Jerry Shirley.
Yeah.
So Marriott befriended Frampton during the latter months of '68, and the pair sort of bonded, particularly over the way they were being marketed they didn't like, and they wanted their desire to be taken more seriously as musicians. Frampton was pretty much kicking his heels. He recently left his band called The Herd. Marriott sort of acted as his mentor to his young friend, and he agreed to try and help Frampton get some sort of musical direction. So initially, the idea of bringing Frampton to the fold and joining Small Faces as a second guitarist, expand their sound a little bit, and this was met with the resistance by the other bandmates in Small Faces, Ronnie Lane and Ian McLagan. Frampton guested a few live shows, which went down really well, but it did nothing to convince the reluctant bandmates.
Hmm.
Consequently, Marriott was soon helping Frampton to form his own band as a backup plan. So in December '68, Small Faces served as a backing band for French singer Johnny Hallyday, recording sessions in Paris. Marriott again invited Frampton along to participate, and there were week-long sessions, and it may have been another one of Marriott's attempts to sort of test the waters to expand the Small Faces lineup. He's still plugging away, bless him, but for reasons still unknown, nada. Lane and McLagan continued to oppose Frampton joining the group. And those sessions proved to be the Small Faces' final studio recordings. So as a result, Marriott became more sort of concentrated on putting a band from scratch together for Frampton. Greg Ridley and Jerry Shirley were successfully auditioned. He got more and more pissed off. He stormed off stage during a performance with Alexis Korn at Ali Pali on New Year's Eve. And backstage, Steve Marriott announced he was to his bandmates he was leaving.
Oh.
He then approached Frampton and said, "You know this new band I put together for you? Can I join?" So they did. Having instantly been labelled by the UK press as a supergroup and not be taken seriously, the band chose the name Humble Pie in order to downplay such expectations. The debut album, As Safe as Yesterday Is, was released in August '69, along with some single. The first single was Natural Born Boogie, and the B-side was called Wrist Job. It reached number 4 in the UK singles charts, and the album peaked at number 32 in the UK album charts. So, As Safe as Yesterday Is was one of the first albums to be described by the term heavy metal in a 1970 review in Rolling Stone magazine, though in this case it was meant to be an insult rather than a genre label. And in quotes, here they were, a noisy, unmelodic, heavy metal-laden shit rock band with the loud and noisy parts beyond doubt. The second album, Town Country, was rush released because in the UK because their record label, Immediate Records, was on the verge of financial collapse. They're trying to cash in on what popularity. The band were actually in the US on tour at the time. I had no say in the matter. During 1970, the label did in fact collapse, and Humble Pie signed to A&M, got a new manager in, and they said to focus on the US market, and sort of more raucous sort of sound for that with Marriott as a front man. So the first album for H&M was self-titled Humble Pie, and it was released later in 1970 and alternated between progressive rock and hard rock. It was during this period that Frampton acquired his famed Phoenix guitar, the black 1954 Les Paul Custom that became his signature instrument and his favorite guitar for the next decade. Humble Pie was playing a run of shows at the Fillmore West in San Francisco in early December 1970. And during the first show, Frampton was plagued by sound problems with his then current guitar, a semi-acoustic Gibson 335, which was prone to unwanted feedback at higher volumes. After the show, he was approached by a fan and musician, Mark Mariana, who loaned him the modified 1954 Gibson Les Paul. And by the end of the second show, Frampton had been so enamored of the guitar he offered to buy it on the spot, but Mariana refused any payment. And Frampton played it almost exclusively for the next 10 years. It's quite a cool story.
Yeah.
So in July 71, Humble Pie opened for Grand Funk Railroad at their historic Shea Stadium concert, an event that broke the Beatles record for the fastest selling stadium concert to that date. In 71, Humble Pie released their most successful album to date, Rock On, as well as a live album recorded at Fillmore East in New York entitled Performance, Rock at the Fillmore. And by the time of that release, Frampton had left the band and went on to do his stuff as a solo artist. We had a number of personnel coming and going. Frampton's replacement, Clem Clemson, and they moved towards a more sort of bluesy and soul roots, which really emphasised Marriott's sort of background. So another album, Smoking, was released in 72, their most commercially successful album, number 6 in the US charts. Looking for more R&B sound, Marriott hired 3 backing vocalists called the Blackberries. The trio consisted of Vanessa Fields, Clyde King, and Shirley Matthews, who were later replaced by Billy Barnum. They had performed with Ike and Tina Turner as the Ikettes. They had also performed with Ray Charles as the Raylettes. So it's really cool. There's some history going through it.
Yeah.
So they also included a sax player called Sidney George for some of the tracks of this new album called Eat It, which was a double album released in April 73. So it was their 6th album. It peaked at number 13 in the US Billboard 200, number 34 in the UK album charts, and number 9 in Australia. So the lineup at this point was Steve Marriott, guitars, harmonica, keyboards, vocals; Dave Clemson, guitars, backing vocals; Greg Ridley, bass, backing vocals; Jerry Shirley, drums; and the Blackberries, Billy Barnum, Clyde King, and Vanessa Fields. So it was an interesting double album. So each side was different themes. So one was Steve Marriott penned rock and roll songs. Side 2 was classic R&B covers. Side 3 was a collection of acoustic Steve Marriott songs. And side 4 was Humble Pie live in concert in Glasgow. As we mentioned, Black Coffee is a song written by Tina Turner. It was originally recorded by Ike and Tina for their 1972 album, Feel Good. Just one side. I know she was in a horrible place then, but I do prefer Ike and Tina to Tina's solo career. She was obviously, battered and abused by it. Glad she got out of that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Steve Marriott adjusted some of the lyrics. In the original version, Tina sings, "My skin is brown, but my mind is black." And Marriott sings, "My skin is white, but my soul is black." When questioned about the lyrics by the NME, Marriott said, "I just sang it because I love the song and it was an interpretation of somebody else's lyrics. People should have known that I've been into black music for years anyway."
Yeah, I mean,
So-
the guy's singing the blues pretty authentically. It's no surprise.
And Humble Pie promoted the song on the British TV programme The Old Grey Whistle Test in March 73, and that's what you saw. The single didn't make an impression on the charts, unbelievably, but I guess bluesy type stuff would be seen as old-fashioned back then. I don't know.
At that point, right? They got their fill.
But it became known as one of Humble Pie's best-known songs and a fan favourite, and this version that you saw is considered one of Marriott's best vocal performances ever.
Yeah.
And it really is something else. So lyrics. Black coffee is my name. Black coffee is not a thing. Black coffee, freshly ground and fully packed. Hot black coffee, that's where it's at. And I know. Way back, you all know, I don't know when. See, I got hungover before I was 10. You see, my skin is white, but my soul is black. So hot black coffee, that's where it's at. All right. And then back in black coffee, that's what I need now. Black coffee, that's what I want. Black coffee, ooh, black coffee, ooh, yeah, black coffee. Well, black tea, it's as black as it can be. Black tea, come on. Can't compare with me, they sing. I know. Black tea, ooh, it's as good as it can possibly be. But it's a cup of black coffee that a working man needs to see. Yeah. Over there in America, the land of the free, you can get what you want if you got some do re mi. Well, traveling far and I work like a slave. Now I'm independent and you know I get laid. I got me a job and I got me a place. I got a stack of black coffee. How good it tastes. I said a dime is what it costs in the States for a cup of black coffee. How good it tastes. Black coffee, all right, black coffee, oh, black coffee is what I want now, it's what I need. Black coffee to suit my soul, to suit my soul. Black coffee is what I want, it's what I need. Black coffee is where it's at, it's where it's at. Black coffee is what I want, it's what I need. Black coffee is where it's at, it's where it's at. Black coffee, ooh, black coffee, that's where it's at. So yeah, the band continued on. Album number 7, Thunderbox in 74, and Street Rats a year later. After the release of this album and their 1975 Goodbye Pie tour, Humble Pie disbanded, citing musical differences. Marriott went on to produce his first solo album, Marriott, and he moved back to the UK. 79, Marriott and Shirley revived Humble Pie and added some other people, carried on, recorded another album, On to Victory in 1980 and Go for Throat in 81. In 81, at the beginning of the promotional tour for Go for the Throat album, Marriott crushed his hand in the hotel door room, delaying earlier scheduled appearances by the band. And he then later developed a duodenal ulcer, which forced the cancellation of the rest of that tour dates all through 81. Soon after this lineup disbanded, and the band was no more due to the loss of their record contract and the financial problems. Marriott based himself in Atlanta, Georgia, with his second wife, and they continued to then tour locally as Humble Pie with other musicians. Then he sort of he brought it back again, and then disbanded it again. Then Joe Shirley obtained the rights to the name Humble Pie in 88 and reformed with different musicians. Frampton and Marriott then got back together in 1990 and did some stuff together. And as we all know, tragically, Marriott died in a house fire in 1991. Shirley then came back and reformed Humble Pie in 2001 and recorded another album. And then they did the tribute to Steve Marriott's concert, which was 10 years after his death, which was quite sweet. And then in 2018, Shirley still had the rights, but didn't want to perform. So we got together different musicians and wanted to keep the name Humble Pie going. And they're still touring to this date.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of people involved in the band, but there's that core at the start, and they just get chop and change, you know. But yeah, so they go Humble Pie.
Wow. So several times they brought it back to life, but I mean, if it
did Reanimator, yeah,
exactly.
No, this is a great shout by a pair of pints. Thanks very much for this.
Yeah.
I'll wrap things up. Andy, thanks for listening to this.
Thank you.
Folks out there, please tell us what you think. If you like this, do hit the like button and drop your comments. We'd love to hear from you. You got any suggestions? Just slap them down at any episode and we'll add to the list. If one of us hasn't heard of it, we'll have a go. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. But on that note, thanks for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.